Hello friends and welcome. As a young kid, I grew up with my family in a rented 2-bedroom apartment in a rather rough neighborhood. Some people called it the wild, wild west of Singapore at that time. There were fights that occurred downstairs from where we lived, and these were not infrequent. I remember the sound of glass bottles crashing late at night. I was told there were certain gangs in our neighborhood. Well, we had good neighbors, but there were also some who seemed a little bit shady, and I remember one who tried to introduce me to smoking while I was still in primary school. It was not the safest of environments, and I remember our parents laying down firm ground rules for us. We had to be back by a certain time before things got more dangerous at night. We could play with our neighbors, but only with those whom my parents knew and were comfortable with. And our gate was locked all the time, and sometimes in addition to that, our door too. And we were not to enter certain neighbors' homes without their permission. We knew these rules were put in place because our parents cared for us and loved us and wanted us to be safe where we lived. The same with the digital world. If we're not careful and allow our children to be exposed to anything and anyone out there, the consequences could be severe and dire for them. So we need to lock our gates figuratively, lock our doors, double lock sometimes, and put in place various measures to protect our children from the dangers that lurk in the internet. Allow me to share a few tips on the various levels of security that we can put into our homes so that our children can enjoy the benefits of the internet as safely as possible. At the first level is the internet service provider. Most, if not all, have various degrees of security that we can place on the contents that come into our homes and devices. Check their websites, speak to the customer service officers to see what you can do to filter off objectionable contents at this level. At the second level is the wireless router we have at home. Most, if not all, router systems today allow for the administrator, in this case parents, to set a security level to filter off content that we think is not appropriate for our kids, depending on their age. At the third level will be the devices that we and our children use. Our phones, our tablets, laptops, and so on. It will be good to install some accountability software in these devices, whereby we can all be accountable to each other. Sure, as administrators, we can and should know what websites our children may be looking at. But it is good to let our children know the sites we ourselves have been surfing through. To let them know about the concept of mutual accountability, that we are all accountable to each other in the family. And we are not merely exercising parental controls for the sake of just restricting their enjoyment. Then again, besides the devices that our family use, there's the possibility, or rather probability, that they might be using other devices that do not have the same protection as ours, such as those belonging to schoolmates, friends, and relatives whom we might visit. And yes, grandparents too. So what can we do to protect them in such situations? Here are some possible options. 1. Check with the friends and relatives whom we intend to visit if they have those layers of protection that we have in our own household. If yes, good. If not, encourage them to install these. If they do not wish to do so, then we may want to advise our children not to use those unprotected devices. 2. If grandpa and grandma are not familiar with these levels of protection, perhaps we can help them with installing these in their homes and their devices too. Now, over and above all these measures to protect our children, perhaps the most important one is the parent-child relationship. As parents, we want our children to feel secure and develop good self-esteem. We want to develop a good relationship with them whereby our kids are encouraged and feel safe to talk with us freely with the assurance that they will not be slighted or condemned for sharing with us mistakes they might have made or objectionable sites they might have stumbled upon. Process with them, find out how and why certain things might have happened the way they did, and discuss with them how we can avoid such situations in future. The underlying message we want to share with our children is this: we love you. You can turn to us anytime if you encounter any trouble or you have any questions, because we are here for you and we want to help you and journey with you. Let us journey through this together, with each other, for each other, calmly. Necessary? Yes. Easy? Not at all. Have I made mistakes myself? Absolutely. Many times. That's why we are so totally dependent on God in our mission as Catholic parents. Which leads us to our final point. Remember always to pray for ourselves and our kids. As with everything else, we cannot do anything right without God's mercy, grace, and guidance. What I've outlined in this episode is only a very brief sketch of what we can do to protect our children online. To find out even more, I would like to encourage you to watch or listen to a podcast in which Jason Everett spoke with Chris McKenna about the various layers we can use to protect our children online. Chris is the founder of protectyoungeyes.com, a very good website which also has an app to help parents on this journey. I have provided a link to this podcast in the show notes, as well as other useful links related to this topic. So as we end this episode, let us ask ourselves if we would like to invest ourselves in putting in place various measures to protect our children online, if we have not yet done so. Is there anything else we should do? Till we meet again, take care and God bless you and your family always. Goodbye. If you found this video useful, I invite you to put a like to it, subscribe to our channel, and share it with others whom you think will benefit from it. God bless you always.